the story is first. And I think if you talk to people like John Lasseter at Pixar, he would even say the same thing about what he's doing, is story comes before the technology, even though we think of Pixar as very high tech. It's still about stories and people and characters and artists, and I think that's the mantra that has to be repeated over and over again when you're making a film with a lot of technology.
So what do you think, what was the change for you? Because then obviously when you went into Iron Man, there was a lot, even though Iron Man, the feel of the film is very grounded in reality, as opposed to like some of the other superhero where it's like, okay, everybody's flying and everything. And that's sort of part of the story, is tech is part of the story in a way that it often is not in the superhero movies. So what was there, had you seen some films where you thought, okay, now I can go?
Yeah, I think one of the breakthroughs was the notion of rendering hard surfaces like metal or painted, in other words, non-organic material, which is always easier to render than something that's alive. And we had hit a point about then when Ion could do really good hard surfaces, to the point that we'd film him in the suit a lot, and then we would have other shots that would match to them, and I couldn't tell the difference between the rendered image and what we had actually filmed on the set. And once you hit that point where they're indistinguishable, it becomes about what you as a filmmaker and what the animators are doing. And if you're asking too much of the action, you'll tip your hand, but if you keep the action grounded in reality, the technical aspects of it are not going to betray the illusion. So you're getting to a point now, I felt, where it's really in the hands of the filmmaker whether it sells or not. And good CGI often is invisible, you don't even know it's there. And I think when people don't like CGI, they usually don't like bad CGI. And that's when you're starting to do things like you're betraying the laws of physics. You're doing things where in our brain we have a lot of real estate dedicated to reckoning with the way, for example, movement happens. So it takes a lot of neural real estate to track and catch a fly ball. We've developed as a species to be very cognizant. There's a lot of calculations that are going on to do things that our species is particularly adept at. Tracking movement. Those things crunch a lot of data. And if you try to fool people with things like physics, we're all experts, and we'll call BS on it if it's not right. And so understanding what the human brain has evolved to do is the areas that you don't want to try to fool the brain. So for example, facial recognition. It's part of our survival instincts from being an infant. That's how we communicate. So if you mess with the triangle between the mouth and the eyes on a human face, it's very difficult to avoid hitting the uncanny valley, because all of us are experts in face recognition. But like in Jungle Book, if I distort the proportions of a species of animal that we might not know that well, I can get away with a lot more. So I found if you don't mess with physics, you don't mess with the human face too much, you can actually, there's a lot that even in the years since we're discussing, not to jump ahead, but if you get the proper data and give that and the proper parameters to your animators and your technical directors, you can actually pull off the magic trick more effectively than most people might think.
When you were working